Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here to talk about something that I like to do. I know a lot of people like to do vacation book reading while they're on vacation. I do that too, but I prefer to do a vacation pre-read. And so what I mean by that is I like to gather a bunch of books that have to do with the area, give me a sense of place, give me some history, give me little tidbits as I'm there, make me feel like I understand a little bit more about the culture before I go. So this year I'm taking my husband to Italy. I've been there as a little girl, and I went last year to Tuscany. We're gonna go to Rome and then the Amalfi Coast. So I'm super excited. And I've already read Patricia Highsmith's Ripley's, some of the Ripley series, so I'm familiar with that. But I really wanted to think about, like, well, what were other things? How could I go deeper and think about other books that maybe gave me a different sense of history and place? So I started off doing a quick search. I love to read police procedurals and mysteries set in historical setting, even though I know they're probably not true, and the police system as we know it didn't exist in ancient times, and so I take it with a large grain of salt that that is probably not historically accurate, but there's always little tidbits and little fun things to kind of put yourself in that place. So the first one I read was Lindsey Davis's The Silver Pigs. So this is a series, Marcus and Didius Balco series. This was the first one. And it's set in ancient Roman times. And so there's just a lot of really interesting little details. And I really like that they went to Londinium in that book. So that was a really nice segue with one of my favorite cities in the world, which is London. So I really enjoyed that. Again, you know, putting a pause on the historical accuracy, so to speak, of that book, but it was a fun little romp. Then I decided to pick up her second series, another series, and this one has a female lead, and this is the Flavia Albia series. And so Flavia is the adopted daughter of Marcus Didius Balco, and she is also an informer. An informer, it seems like it's a private investigator, but they work with whatever the local government is there. I'm just really lightly into it now. But that book is called The Ides of April. So far, really fun. She's a widow but young. She's 27, and she's really scrappy because she was an orphan and she was picked up and raised by Marcus Didius Balco and his wife, and so she still has some of her scrappy energy and street sense, and so that's a really fun series so far. So. But I needed to, because that's so light on actual facts and it's more a feeling, I guess, I decided I wanted to go with something more hardcore. And so SPQR by the indomitable Mary Beard. She's just a marvel and just a fantastic writer. She makes this so accessible. This is really a narration of the history of Rome, starting with the myth of Romulus and Remus, and where did it start? How did that come up? And how does that seep into the culture of Rome? So really, if you've never read any Mary Beard, so far I'm loving this. I'm 131 pages in chapter 4 and cannot get to this fast enough. I might try to see if I can get this on audio just so I can knock it out, because I only have a few more months before our trip, and it goes big. I'm not a fast nonfiction reader, so that might be something I switch to, but love it already. Another book that I read was recent one was The Italian Teacher by Tom Rachman, and that was a fun read. It was a kind of your typical father-son relationship and some challenges of expectations, and you've got your temperamental artist father and the son that's trying to live up to the standards, and set in Italy for some of the portions. Excuse me. So that was an interesting read. I won't say I loved it. I would say it was a like a solid 3, 2.5, 3. You know, it wasn't anything very special. I have some things that I remember about it, but not anything that sticks in my mind as profound. But let's talk about profound. Bay of Noon by Shirley Hazzard. So kudos to one of my book club members, co-members, and she's fantastic, very, very well read, and she recommended this to me. This Bay of Noon by Shirley Hazzard is a phenomenal book. It actually written in 1970, but it's of an earlier time, right after World War II. And the style of it is a little dated, or it feels a little, it's different. It's a different style than ours. And let me read you this little passage. This exemplifies why I love reading for travel. So we're going to be going to Naples and the Amalfi Coast, and here's a little section where the narrator, the main character, is talking with an older woman that she's befriended. Our narrator is in her 20s. This older woman is a little older than her and has just suffered and lived in Naples for a very long time through the war. And she's kind of doing a confessional and kind of bearing her soul to this young woman this one evening. And she's kind of talking about Naples. She says, the city had been through all forms of privation, battered from both sides. Degradation, wretchedness, you don't want to hear it again. For our generation, yours and mine, it's commonplace. Not only what we suffered, but what suffering brought people to. The terrible details, that's always been the specialty of Naples. The terrible ironies. While the city was under blackout, you know that Vesuvius was in eruption, and the entire region irradiated with a red glow that could be seen for 100 miles. It was a real hell we were in, bathed in red, overhung by a sky of ash smelling of fire and brimstone. The mountain was weird, wonderful, the slopes flickering with the sparks thrown up by molten lava. So there's absolutely no way that I'm not going to be standing in Naples looking up at Mount Vesuvius and thinking about what it must have felt like to be not only in a blackout from the war, but then also to have Mother Nature just erupting, so you have the worst that man can do and the worst that nature can do, all in one horrible night. It just sounds amazing to me. So that's why I read. And this was filled with so many beautiful little passages and beautiful little sayings, and the writing is sublime. I highly recommend Bay of Noon by Shirley Hazzard. And then the last book I haven't read yet, this is Michael Dibdin's Vendetta. So this is the Aurelio Zen mystery. This is the first one. And I'll leave you on this. This is what makes me love the reading community so much, is I opened up the book and there is a stamp from a bookstore that used to exist in San Francisco that a woman that I live nearby used to own, and she and I always talk books. So I love how you get connected to people through books. So that's it for me. I'd love to know, do you have any ideas for me? Any suggestions of books that I should be reading in the next few months before I go to Rome and the Amalfi Coast? If you have some, please let me know, and